Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS, Virginia Tech, Vanderbilt, College Football Week 1. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Hokies are on the road in Vandy for this one. Looks like Vanderbilt's catching 13.5 points at home. Total sitting at 48.5 or 48, depending on your sports books. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and according to the model, 33.3 for Virginia Tech, 16.5 for Vanderbilt. But again, as I keep saying, this model is using last year's metrics. Probably won't start using this or referencing it till week 3 or 4. So let's get into this one, and we'll start with Virginia Tech. And as I'm sure you've heard, this team's loaded. This team has very high hopes this year, and for good reason. Bringing back a ton of production from last year. They're actually 4th in the country in returning production, 1st in offensive returning production. Look at their returning production on offense. I mean, their star quarterback, Kyron Jones, is back. Both running backs are back. 4 of the top 5 receivers are back. All 5 starters on the offensive line are back. And by the way, this is a pretty good offense last year. They ran the ball a lot, 27th in run frequency, but I expect Kyron Jones to develop as a passer as well. But look at the success they had running the ball last year. 17th in the country in yards per carry, 42nd in rushing success rate, 11th in effective rush. And with all those pieces back, might even be, I think it's safe to assume it will take a step forward. So this is going to be a really dangerous rushing attack. Here are the 2 rushers back, the quarterback and the running back for Virginia Tech. Both rushed for over 800 yards, both close to 5 yards per carry, 15 rushing touchdowns between the 2 of them. So yeah, this is going to be dangerous. The weakness of the Virginia Tech offense last year was the offensive line. Not that these numbers are terrible, but they're not excellent. With all 5 starters returning, I expect these numbers to improve as well. And another thing I like here for the Virginia Tech offense is they started last season off slow. Look at the numbers in the first 3 games. Just 83 rushing yards per game, terrible yards per carry, offensive line yards, rushing success rate, all looks bad. Jones was named the starter in week 3. Look at the remainder of the season. 206 rushing yards per game, 5.39 yards per carry, 3.29 offensive line yards. So when Jones took over as quarterback, everyone started playing better, and this became one of the better rushing attacks in football. By the way, Jones can also throw it. 1,989 yards passing, 7.5 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Obviously, Virginia Tech was definitely known more for their rushing attack, but I expect him to develop as a passer as well. So yeah, again, nothing negative to say about the Virginia Tech offense. They're going to be a powerhouse, and they're up against Vanderbilt's defense. Now, obviously, it's terrible. Here are the numbers from last year. They were 126th in yards per play allowed, 109th in success rate, 131st in PPA. This is a terrible defense last year. I will say the defensive front should take a dramatic step forward this year. They got 3 starters on the defensive line back. Only 1 linebacker returning that's a starter, but he was their number 1 leading tackler last year. So as far as Vanderbilt's defense against the run, I expect it to be somewhat respectable. And by the way, their defensive line play wasn't that bad last year. 70th in defensive line yards, 59th in stuff rate, 74th in power success rate. That's not terrible. Their defensive line wasn't absolutely terrible this year, and they're bringing 3 starters back and their leading tackling linebacker. Definitely don't love the look of that for Virginia Tech. I mean, that offense was so reliant on the run game last year, and I expect it to be one of the best rushing attacks in the country this year. But opening up the season on the road against a Vanderbilt run defense that I actually think is going to be respectable. So I don't love that for Virginia Tech. But let's flip it over to the other side of the field and talk about Vanderbilt's offense. We got a new guy calling the plays. Tim Beck is in from New Mexico State. Joey Lynch got fired last year. Tim Beck, certainly a successful campaign over in New Mexico State. That offense was really impressive last year with Diego Pavia. By the way, Diego Pavia is here at Vandy as well. 16th in the country in yards per play, 12th in success rate, 21st in PPA. Rushing numbers, excellent across the board. The combination of hiring Tim Beck to coach the offense and bringing in Diego Pavia to play quarterback, we're going to see a dramatic shift in the play calling here. Vanderbilt threw the ball a lot last year, 23rd in passing frequency. Now, some of that is a result of them being down on the scoreboard a lot. But, I mean, look at the splits for New Mexico State's play calling. They're 39th in run frequency. So I definitely expect Vanderbilt to run the ball significantly more this year. And not to mention, their team's built for it. If you look at their numbers from last year, it looks like the opposite. Their passing numbers, I mean, it's bad across the board, but their passing numbers certainly better than their rushing numbers from last year. Look at their personnel. Look at the weapons from last year. They've lost everybody. Wide receiver gone to Colorado. Wide receiver gone to Georgia. Tight end, gone to Mississippi State. Wide receiver, gone to Boston College. The only one of their major weapons from last year that stayed at Vanderbilt is their RB1, Cedric Alexander. You add that in with the fact that Diego Pavia is playing quarterback, a good physical runner, 928 rushing yards last year, over 5 yards per carry, 7 rushing touchdowns. Not that he can't throw it. I mean, 2,470 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He could throw the ball as well. But no question, if Diego Pavia is your quarterback, you're going to be looking to build some kind of physical rushing attack. And by the way, Vanderbilt's offensive line last year in terms of run blocking really wasn't that bad. Offensive line yards, stuff rate, power success rate, these are pretty average looking numbers. And their offensive line's actually in pretty good shape this year. They bring 3 starters back from last year, and the 2 other starters are both transfers that started last year, one at Liberty and one at Mississippi State. So Vanderbilt might actually have a good offensive line. I think they're going to be able to run the football. And by the way, Virginia Tech, absolutely loaded on offense, pretty damn good on defense as well. But if there's one weakness with this team, it's defending the run. Here are their numbers from last year, just 66 in yards per carry, allowed 75th in effective rush. Here are their run defense numbers from last year. I mean, not terrible, 37th in defensive line yards, 35th in stuff rate, 54th in power success rate. These aren't awful, and I expect these to improve because they bring back 5 of their 7 defensive front. But still, this is probably the weakest spot, or at least was last year, of this Virginia Tech team, was defending the run on the road against a Vanderbilt team that I think is going to have a rushing attack. I do. So I really don't like the look of that, especially considering we're talking about laying 2 touchdowns on the road here. Now, as far as betting trends, since 2021, Virginia Tech 9-9 against the number as favorites. Nothing there. Just 4-10 against the spread in non-conference games. That's definitely not great. But if we're talking betting trends, we know the Vanderbilt ones aren't going to look great. 4-10 against the spread as home underdog since 2021. 3-9 against the spread in non-conference games. So both of these teams have performed terribly in their non-conference games. As far as betting this game, man, I'd be lying if I said I don't want to bet Vandy. Let's put Vanderbilt plus 13.5 on the screen. Haven't bet this yet. Also put the over up if you can get a 48. The reason that I don't think I can bet this over, both of these teams, well, I shouldn't say both these teams. Vanderbilt ran a slow pace last year, and Tim Beck with New Mexico State, that offense was great, very slow pace. So we're talking about 2 teams who I expect to be running a pretty slow pace. Plus, I'm expecting a lot of runs, a lot of running the football in this game. Slow pace with the clock rolling doesn't help an over, although I think both offenses will be able to move the ball. So I'll put over up on the screen. Gun to my head, force me to make a bet in this game. I always get smoked when I try taking Vanderbilt. Give me Vanderbilt plus 13.5. If a 14 flashes, I'll take it. If I can get a Vanderbilt plus 14, I will place that bet. At 13.5, it'll be Vandy or pass. I'll let you know on the live show. So Saturday morning, we're going through every single game on the board. There's going to be like 30 of them. 10 a.m. Eastern time to 12 noon, right up to kickoff. We're going through them all. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. If you want to see all the bets I have open currently, head over to KyleKirms.com and click Open Bets. It just shows, and it's not just me, it's the whole staff. You can see there's tabs for each of us. You can see what bets each of us have personally placed. So head over to KyleKirms.com and sign up for Sauce Network Plus if you're interested in that. Also comes with access to the Discord, and we do a weekly betting league. $150 and a trophy go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested in that, head over to the website and sign up. Let's have ourselves a nice week 1. I made a few dollars in week 0, just a few. I'll take it. I'm in the green. Hopefully that continues. Remember to bet responsibly. I'll talk to you in the Discord.